There we are. Let's get this started. Hi, this is Rogelio, Vida Properties EXP Realty, coming to you with another video. Just like the thumbnail showed, we're going to be talking about affordability and specifically affordability calculators. So, hey, look, I do these videos, informative, educational, try to kind of put something out there that's relative. Nowadays, there's a huge concern with the cost of living. And I think very importantly, when you're looking at possibly going from a rental to a home ownership situation, we want to see, okay, well, how is this different? Not just from making that change, but from what the lender says I can pay to what I can really pay. And it could be where you can maybe, afford more based on your personal expense and lifestyle, or it could be like a lot less. So when I was looking and I did research and Googled affordability calculators, there's a couple that I did find that were okay. Now, sort of those, NerdWallet, which is what we're going to use as a basis for comparison, I didn't really like it anyways. I didn't like the way it was constructed, or the debt to income ratio it uses is 36%. It'd be great if you could do that, but it's not really realistic. And when you look to a lender, I've seen them go as high as above 50%, especially looking at FHA financing. So you can't customize that. You can't change it. So before we get started, do me a favor. If this is something that you like, you want to see more of, or you want to see some of my past videos, go ahead and subscribe, follow, share, like, comment. Let me know what you think. So let's go ahead and look. And I'm gonna get started with a spreadsheet that we use in the housing counseling world, and that's what I'm going to base off. And actually, when I talk to somebody, whether it's an online appointment or in person, this is what I bring out to get sort of the conversation started. The budget. So I have a budget sheet, and I'm going to go ahead and open that up. That I'm going to start here with a budget, which is basically determining what is the gross monthly income. We're gonna use $110,000 because that's the default that NerdWallet brings up. So just to have a starting point. Bottom line, what is the most important figure is this box that's highlighted in yellow, which is, what does the seller say, or what do they determine based on their calculations and based on looking at your taxes, your W-2s, your pay stubs, bank statements, etc., what that number is. Because all the percentages is going to be off of that. So if we look at 110, so before we get started, do me a favor. If this is something that you like, you want to see more of, or you want to see some of my past videos, go ahead and subscribe, follow, share, like, comment. Let me know what you think. So let's go ahead and look. And I'm gonna get started with a spreadsheet that we use in the housing counseling world, and that's what I'm going to base off. And actually, when I talk to somebody, whether it's an online appointment or in person, this is what I bring out to get sort of the conversation started. The budget. So I have a budget sheet, and I'm going to go ahead and open that up. That I'm going to start here with a budget, which is basically determining what is the gross monthly income. We're going to use $110,000 because that's the default that NerdWallet brings up. So just to have a starting point. Bottom line, what is the most important figure is this box that's highlighted in yellow, which is, what does the seller say, or what do they determine based on their calculations and based on looking at your taxes, your W-2s, your pay stubs, bank statements, etc., what that number is. Because all the percentages is going to be off of that. So if we look at 110, the monthly gross income would be $91.67. So before we get into the affordability side, let's look at guidelines. So on the housing counseling world, you have to look at both gross and net, right? That's your take home actual. So in that world, the guideline is to say that 40% of your take home pay goes to your housing payment, whether that's rent or mortgage. That's the recommendation. So That means that 60% of that, the difference down here, is for everything else, including both your debt expenses. So that's your card payments, credit cards, personal loans, student loans, and then your personal expenses, which is going to be your car insurance. It's going to be your food, gas, going out, entertainment, travel, everything else, right? On the gross income side, the guideline is to keep your housing expense, your housing payment, whether it's rent or mortgage, 30%, 31% or under. Okay. Once you determine what this is, you can figure, those numbers out. What I do then is kind of open up another page, another sheet here in Excel, and we'll start looking at qualifying numbers. So, you've heard of qualifying ratios. So you have your housing ratio, which is your front end ratio, and then you have your total DTI or your back end ratio, which includes your housing payment as well as any other debt expense, which again, card payments, credit cards, etc. So we're using $110,000 for the year, about $9,600 a month, and we're using 36% as for comparison's sake because that's what NerdWallet uses. That's going to be $3,300. $3,300, subtract your total expenses. So in this case, we go back here. I'm putting in here $200 for credit cards and a card payment of $445. Now the default on the NerdWallet is all $645. So that's why we're doing that. So based on that, you start at, you have to take into account the escrow, which is your taxes, insurance, mortgage insurance, and then you subtract that from your total limit max housing payment, and that's how you come up with the principal and interest payment. Now you factor in what the interest rate is, the down payment. So in the example, we're using $15,000, so that's why this is as close as I could get on the down payment. This is the math that I get on the Excel sheet. So that's what we're just looking at, not the affordability factor. This is just straight what a lender would be looking at. So now we're going to go ahead and then open up the website. So this is the NerdWallet. I'm going to go ahead and let's see. Well, there it is. And I've already input some of this information. I do want to change this one thing here. So yeah, you have your annual, your pre-tax income, which is your gross income. The $645 debt payments, recurring expenses, we're going to put at 0, which is not very realistic, but just for the sake of doing the math. The default that they have here is about 20%, which again, yes, it is possible for somebody to have that, but especially first-time home buyers, I don't think so. So I'm going to go ahead and put $15,000 down, which is just over 4%. Remember, FHA, the minimum is 3.5. There are programs for 0% down, but of course, the more you have, the better. Let's keep it at 6.5, 30-year term. Again, just for comparison's sake, we're going to use $2,400 a year for both taxes, property taxes and insurance, which is $200 a month. And then again, the PMI, the mortgage insurance, I'm using the FHA rate because if you look at the conventional side, that's going to be based on your credit. On the FHA, it's 0.55% of the total loan amount calculated over 1 year. So if we divide it by 12, then it's 164 in this case. And what NerdWallet is saying is that without having any personal expenses and just using this information, you would qualify, or that you should be able to afford a home at $345,000. So my take on this is that if you save your money, you're not spending on going out much, and you're really you manage your money well, you should be able to put more of that money into your housing payment. That's my logic. The affordability calculator that I came up with, and you'll find it at VidaBroker.com, and all the links will be provided here in the comments, or if you're looking at the YouTube in the description. I have a blog for this as well. So on the left-hand side, we have the input field side. So same thing, annual pre-tax, monthly debt. We're going to put 0 for the recurring expenses, 15,000 for the down payment, etc., etc. Just going down, you click calculate. One, I want to provide both. What is the lender perspective on this? And then what is the affordability perspective on this? So with this, very similar to what the spreadsheet said. And on this side, what NerdWallet is saying. But because I am saying, well, you should be compensated for not having recurring expenses, the home price is $372,000. Here you have your monthly commitments. To me, it makes sense. Let's go back and now add recurring expenses. So let's go back to the NerdWallet and let's add $400. It will change the PMI. So this actually has to go higher. And if I do the math here, they're saying home price of $282, loan needed at $267. So if I bring up the my spreadsheet here again, and I actually have another qualification. We work backwards, but basically, since it's based on the loan amount and it's they just do it here, 0.55%. But you can just add more zeros in there. For what was the amount? $267. Okay, now we divide that by 12. Okay, 122. So that makes sense. Lower. And it's going to be round. I mean, it's a circular formula, because then this is based off of the PMI. PMI is based off on the loan amount. So if the PMI comes down, this comes up. So I'm going to raise this a little higher. I'm going to say 130. So still we're here at 287 for the purchase price. Let's go back to my affordability calculator and add the $400 a month in recurring expenses. Just hit calculate. So the loan amount stays around the 348 because you're still the monthly debt is still 645. Now this is automatically taken into account the PMI. Even then, we're at 340. So it did bring it down from the 370. But not quite as much as the NerdWallet did, which brought it all the way down to under 290. So you see the huge difference. So you start playing around more with this, with the down payments, reducing the monthly debt and increasing the recurring debt, or the other way around. You start seeing that there's how that impacts that home affordability. More than anything, to me, the idea is that you understand those numbers. And does it make sense here in the real life? I don't think that some of the established standard guidelines apply in real life a lot. Again, they're guidelines. The other thing is, if you scroll a little bit down here on my page, I set up a home finance strategy simulator, or kind of a code saying, okay, well, based on the information you input and the results, this is some things to think about. So depending on what your input, and these are all like if-then scenarios, so I just did conditional statements and have some 10 different pre-established statements that show up depending on the data. So look at those, try out different scenarios, tell me what you think. And one other thing that I thought was, well, maybe I want to save this information. Okay. The best that I could come up with on my design and my limited programming is to just have the results emailed to you. So you can just put your email here, and it'll just send those results to you in message form. I don't store this data. It is not set up to do that. So the information is kept private. You can just delete. So if you want to just zero out everything, just refresh the page, and you can start from zero, or just make the changes here about one at a time, or whatever you do, and then just hit calculate. The last thing here that I do have is a glossary of terms. I thought there's two parts here, just your budget type of terminology, and then your mortgage related vocabulary. Just kind of get a feel, kind of things we're talking about. May or may not need this, but just put it in there. Get back in here. So again, go ahead and click subscribe, follow, share, like, etc. If you like this content, it'd be great to have you come along for the ride. But that's all I had for you. And enjoy. Again, follow the links, play around with them, and share the information. Tell me what you think. If you want to get out there looking at homes, get pre-qualified, want to get the hookups with the banks, mortgage brokers, whether you're looking at first-time home buyer programs, SHAFA programs, whatever it is, holler at me, send an email, text me. All that information is provided, and we'll be in touch. But